Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll wait a minute or two, and then we'll kick off with the session. There's people trickling in, so I think we had about 80 or so attendees, so just give a couple minutes. We'll get started in just a minute. I just want to make a note. We do have a Zoom moderator helping us out. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm sure you all know the drill. You can put them in the chat, and we should have time to get to those after the presentation. And if you're having any technical difficulties, you can let us know as well, and we'll try to take care of that. All right, we have a good number of folks in, so I'm going to kick this session off. I want to welcome everyone to the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation Brown Bag Lunch and Learn on virtual reality and planning. My name is Kevin Kane. I'm the Director of Planning and Sustainability in the City of New Rochelle, and I'm also a Director of the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation. Most of you on the call probably know that we often just abbreviate that as WMPF. So if you hear me say WMPF, that's what I'm talking about. I'm joined by Greg Cutler, who's our Zoom moderator. He's a fellow WMPF board member, and he's the Director of Planning and Economic Development in Portchester. And according to LinkedIn, it's also his birthday today. So happy birthday, Greg. Greg is also the Lower Hudson Valley East representative for the New York Metro chapter of the American Planning Association. Speaking of, the Hudson Valley East section of the chapter has co-sponsored this event, and CM credits are available for AICP members. So following the webinar, you'll be taken to a survey on the WMPF website. When you submit the survey, you can get the certificate of attendance for today. And if you're unable to take the survey, you'll receive a copy of it in a follow-up email. So for today's session, I want to introduce you to our speaker, Jorge Ventura. Jorge is the Deputy Commissioner of Economic Development here in the City of New Rochelle with me. He's right across the hall from me. He has a background in planning, architecture, and economic development. And after working for a few years for the New York City Department of City Planning, Jorge came to New Rochelle, where he has successfully spearheaded a number of notable initiatives, including the just adopted downtown commercial strategy, which has a suite of programs and code amendments that build off the city's transformative downtown overlay zone. Jorge brings to us his tech-savvy skills, and that skill set has been instrumental for our department, and particularly in deploying virtual reality for our purposes in planning and economic development. He is a bright, friendly guy. He's an absolute joy to work with, and I'm thankful that he's here joining us today to share his experience and knowledge. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Jorge.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I mean, thank you for that intro. And, you know, it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure for me to be part of the New Rochelle team. You were here when I joined, and you were, to me, instrumental in understanding, you know, the ropes here in New Rochelle. And all the projects and initiatives I've been a part of, you know, have been in collaboration with you. So I truly appreciate that. And thanks again for the intro. Should I jump right into the program?
Yeah, you can go for it if you want to share your slide deck.
Yep. So please let me know, Kevin, if this can be seen.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm gonna walk you through today, and thank you for having me as your speaker. This was really exciting initiative that we participated on and that we're trying to carry along as well. And this is a big part of the intent of the grant we get to actually have the opportunity to develop this virtual reality approach or community engagement approach, which we turn into not a high tech only, but also a combination of low tech and high tech. And I'll walk a little bit through that as lessons learned as well. But a big piece of this grant was to be able to share our experience and how we can collaborate and be of guidance or just like a source of information for any municipality or any stakeholder that is thinking about applying this type of technology to the community engagement piece of their work. The world has evolved very much towards different type of technologies. So some of these might be seen by some as something that it's kind of taking a place more in the past than in the future since when we started, but there's still lessons learned here. We participated in more like progressive technologies now, or more innovative technologies now, like, the metaverse and the integration of that approach to even the engagement, and virtual reality still has a piece there to a role to play, as well as augmented reality, AR. There's everything. There's a place for everything, and the way we've been able to explore this technology, we'll see through. And I'm more than happy, to engage in this in what we've learned, how we've applied it. So a really short background is Bloomberg Philanthropies Mayor's Challenge back in 2018 that we won $1 million to really explore and develop a platform that would allow us to advance how we engage with the community and how we can be innovative along the way and able to share our experience. I'm so sorry for that. To share our experiences here. So this is why you see on the screen here, this is the final report that we went back to Bloomberg Philanthropies with to showcase, what we did, the progression of it, what the challenge was, and some of the outcomes, along the way that we've seen, and what we see also as next steps and potential things like this webinar to keep doing along the way. So we're going to walk through a really quick executive summary on why this like we won this award and this grant, and we're able to move forward, establishing a little bit of the problem in the engagement piece that we identified, and why this was a solution that we explore and that we selected kind of to go through. And then some of the results that we achieved, not perfect again, but something that really sheds light on what thing, could be the next step, and how we can learn from it. And then in the future, how can we sustain and expand impact on this effort. So why this program was identified is because and it's something I've always been, I'm going to use the word obsessed about, in the world of planning and municipal, work, is this idea of like the city or the municipality versus the community. It's always like this, not smooth relationship. In most cases, you guys might have a different experience, but in most cases, it's kind of a little bit of an interesting relationship, and most of the things that are highlighted kind of are the problems, like what anything that's done to engage with the community comes with its ups and downs. And some of these things that we identified, you might be familiarized with. It's the city's traditional development process evoked a lackluster response from the city's residents, in like we're not doing enough, like we're not out there enough, we're not talking in ways that the community feels that we're engaging with them as much. Then the town hall traditional style of meetings, and the use of the same places provide limited opportunities, for residents to engage, and then people gain these really big gradient and really broad gradient and range of understanding and baseline on different projects that we have that we have going on, and we conducted a survey, to be able to understand where people were on different aspects and how they felt about the interactions and perceptions, with City Hall and different type of projects. And that's, something that gave us a foundation to be affirmative about some of these perceptions and opinions. And then the the coming back to the community with what we heard and how the project react to these feedback, um, was more so negative and kind of um, highlighting the difference in baseline and awareness about different projects. So it turned into more like negative than constructive because some people were at different planes, and there's more to the problem. So these were the main ones that we identify. You can see on the right hand side, a few things um, that actually were um, eye-opening for us, not in like in like that we didn't know some of these things were happening, but the degree to which these were happening, and some anecdotal information on that type of engagement. So why this program, we saw it as a solution, is because we saw it as an approach to be able to improve on citizen engagement, using immersive technology. And we think that this adds, and I can speak a little bit about my reactions to this, later on in reflection mode, on how this makes, exciting an exciting way to really engage and understand a project and be able um, to have different levels of interaction with people depending on their degree of comfort, and not so providing options and alternatives was a big thing that we believe this really is adding to the process. Um, and then there's a big piece that we think um, the level and the depth and degree of engagement that we get is more effective depending on the type of project. I'm going to put that caveat there because um, people are seeing the projects through their own eyes and experiences, which are different, but it's like you're transporting people to the future and telling them, asking them, how do you feel about this? It has to do a lot with how people actually see and perceive the world, and not how well they can read a blueprint or a drawing or understand a rendering that's still, and they cannot actually orient themselves on like where this image is from and how big of a change it is as they will experience it in the future. So we thought that this would bring a couple of things. Would be uh, a baseline of understanding, but also the opportunity to engage in people's reactions and perceptions from how they were gonna experience this potential change in the future. About scale, about feeling, materiality, not so much the feeling of things and tactile, because that's not part of what these tool and type of technology can do, yet in the way that we've been exploring it. But we thought that this took people to a different level of understanding of the project that's more natural. And we understand, and we'll talk a little bit about that, on how we had to react and make it hybrid, a hybrid approach, understanding that there are limitations and preferences, that not everybody wants to be immersed in an experience, but also providing a pathway to get there, and the support that and the access that will allow some people to do that as well. So um, we just, and this comes along with the process, and we'll get to that in a little bit, which is like how did we deploy it, and how did we come back to the community to gauge how these changes were actually reflecting what they saw. Um, so in preliminary results, the city chose as the prototype and pilot project, the Link project, which some of you might know about, some of you might not, but in short, it is a new linear park that will replace a piece of gray infrastructure, a highway. We call it a highway to nowhere because it was never finished, but it did create a huge impact in the middle of the city, more so in the middle of these uh, predominantly African American neighborhood, and part of the history there I'm not getting into, but you understand that those type of projects as urban renewal and highways and things like that were impacting these different communities back then in the 50s and 60s, even before. Uh, and the Memorial Highway, which this link project is going to replace a big portion of it, um, is what we chose as this high impact project that is paramount for us, for people to really understand the level of transformation that was going to happen in the city, because the main intent of the project and objective is not about providing an amenity, even though that's important to understand. And there's, a lot of positive feedback on the amenity itself as a park, more so how this intervention was going to bring safety and accessibility and mobility and and connectivity options to a community that was severed by this highway, and how the attempt to use this park as this tool or means to reknit the grid in this neighborhood and really highlight what opportunities, we're gonna come out of this as a ripple effect, using the Link project as a catalytic project to other things that are maybe more important to the community than the park itself. More so like, how can you look into the future on economic development opportunities is a big thing. So this project, we thought it was a really big impact. It was at the right moment, conceptual stages, when we won this grant. And we've come a long way, right? Like, we're in 2024, and the project started as a $6 million project, $6 to $8 million project, which was, for the length of this project, was huge, huge in extent, but really small in the amount of money. But it was a start. And then we've gotten the project to between 45 and $47 million as we've actually been successful in applying for grants. So this tool has been instrumental to really scale the project and really carry along the community to the understanding that we started the project at a point, and now we have enough money, like, to do way more. And this is the evolution of what it could be. This preliminary results using 90% of residents using NRVR platform felt more engaged in development process. So along with getting feedback on the project, we had this challenge, or this challenge not in a bad way, but more so like how this parallel track about really understanding the impact of the tool and the ways to engage along the way. So it was like a two track process, which made it more interesting. And like, hey, the link, this aspect, how do you feel, blah blah blah, but also, hey, is this tool kind of something that is helping you understand better the project, and that type of thing was actually something that we had to engage with at different levels. And respondents varied across ages, like from senior citizens that were super into trying out like the approach, and also children along with their parents, trying to make them see what a future could look like, and really gaining feedback along those ways, and that's excitement as well. Participating residents expressed 7.1 out of 10 level of satisfaction with the opportunities to engage in the development planning process, which to us, it's a big win on getting closer to that 10, which will never be. We understand that, but I think that it seems like, and I'm gonna be very conservative, it seems like there's an impact of this tool. I'm gonna like keep it like that on certain type of projects and certain type of community engagement, that actually these type of tool, we're seeing that it can move the needle a little bit. And Kevin, feel free to intervene, like I mentioned, and anything, because you've been along for the process, and since day one as well. So before, New Rochelle utilized a singular one-size-fits-all approach, like many other municipalities and many other places on capturing, feedback and input from the community on development projects, any type of development projects, and you know, many things you can see here was like, oh, we set up boards, let's do a town hall, let's do a Q&A, and this didn't seem enough, and that's why they need to really challenge ourselves on how can we make this better. I think I started saying this obsession I have on like how it doesn't have to be a bad relation. It just have to we just have to work together on like really trying to solve for it and show people that we're making an effort to find solutions to engage better, more optimally with the community. So like I mentioned, just to some people, it's very hard to understand a section. It's very hard to understand even a plan view drawing, even an aerial view. Some people cannot really understand that type of graphic. But what people do understand, in our opinion, is how they really see the world and walk through the world and kind of see, the impacts that it has on the way that they've grown up with and the experience that they've had. So we conducted a baseline survey, that showed that residents were not satisfied with the planning and development process and the engagement that we had. As you can see here, 11% believed their voice was being taken, was being taken serious in the development process. That's really low. So it's basically this has a ripple effect and kind of a chain of negativity that really takes away motivation of people to continue to engage, and it just like keeps rolling on in like, why am I going to speak uh if it's not something that's going to impact any type of outcome, or that I don't know what they do with what I say. They don't come back and show me, how this is something that maybe not me, but the community have been saying and how that's been integrated. 14% said planning aligns, with community wants and needs. Really low again. 16% were satisfied with the city's development planning process. Um, Really low again. So, a few quotes here on um, that we've seen and things that we've heard along those surveys. Um, so this is kind of where we started to roll out these projects. I can show you, along the way how we have it right now available and accessible, but it's something that comes in stages, right? Depending on the stage of the project, where we are and how ready we are to really have this presence in the community is what is part of what we're constantly trying to build on and understand. So NRVR, as we're calling Rochelle virtual reality, is an immersive visual tool combined with an outreach focused engagement approach. So the key feature is that, it's a virtual and alternate reality platform to help residents visualize potential city developments and improve city engagement. NRVR combines immersive technology with in-person engagement opportunities to meet the community where they are in their neighborhoods at local events. So the visuals and outreach approach, ensure a unified understanding of designs and elicit feedback from residents who would not otherwise have participated in the development process. So the combination of these three things, or three bullets, basically shifts the position of the public being engaged on a more proactive seat. In we allow them to experience and then provide their ideas, through prompts and things like that, that, that allows them to really understand how they can impact the development at a pre-development stage, rather than we coming out and just informing people on like, this is what it's going to be. So there are different levels of interactions here. The design might be also at a point where no feedback to the actual transformation might occur, but feedback on the impact and additional programming or additional interactions of that or evolution of that project as it is at the moment allows for people before the project is built or in the construction stage, be able to advance those conversations. So as you can see here, there's a range of like outcomes and the way to engage. Something that is a big piece of this, as you can see on the pictures on the right, is the physical presence. And this idea of like meeting people where they are. We do not take that lightly. We've never, since we engaged, with these uh, uh, kind of transformation on the way that we go out there and meet with the community, is that the city the city of Rochelle has invested a lot of money in creating these opportunities to meet people where they are. And we're going to see some of that to the point like when this report was done and what we've done, and we've done more after that as well. Which, as you can see, it goes from like the investment in technology, but also investment in activating the community and creating that excuse to bring people out in their element, in their neighborhoods, in where they are, to then engage with them, facilitating that interaction, and having a presence, as you can see here, on how we even invested in a whole trade show type of presence, in these events that really drew people to, hey, what's going on there, and then they could start easing into like what we were actually bringing, which was this innovative way of understanding this project. Um, like I said, meeting with residents, where they are, generates instant and contributes to public trust long term, because we're not telling them come to City Hall, come to the public library, move really far away from where you are, dedicate time at a night, during a night, but you're already there for something, right? So in the short term, what we're trying to do with the NRVR was to, inform design of development, such as the Link project as a prototype project, which will create, a park out of a current highway. So this big transformation is really hard to understand for the layperson, and even sometimes for us, the level of impact and transformation, and Kevin can attest to that, on how until you see it and you experience it and you're like confronted with this potential future, is when you say, actually, whoa, this is not what I envisioned when you spoke to me about it, for instance. So there's a big bridge there that we think it just clicks. And I can say a few anecdotes, on like how that could be a positive or a negative in terms of like having a conversation for the first time with people, when it comes to integrating new technology into that interaction, and also increase the number and diversity of residents, who inform development. Those were like really short-term things that we were trying to do and that we could do, and that I think we successfully did. In the long term, really change the level of trust and will, of the which is the most important thing to me, is that when there's a new project, people have the confidence that we're going to be out there, that we're going to be seeking their input, that we're going to do every effort possible and use every tool necessary for us to really, have a positive and healthy relationship with them that could really advance the project in a way that will impact them in the way that they think it should impact them positively. Um, and then just like as the project itself, align these projects for them to be owned by these communities as something that they participated on and that they did kind of help guide. So that's a big thing, because, people are happy with something you put in there, but there's always these like little, pinch somewhere, or like little, I'm gonna say cut somewhere that stings, when people they don't know the actual origin. They were not engaged about it. They did not participate, and they didn't see that even if their ideas were not there, they know that their friend's idea kind of did create an impact there. That creates a different level of that. And then, NRVR, like how does it do that? How do we do that? We provided this immersive experience that people could access not only when we went to them, but also provided, and I can show you a platform where people at their own time could actually go and experience and provide us feedback with, So we try to really be a true hybrid approach, not only in the low tech, high tech presence that we had and facilitated, but also in the at the moment and remote at people's times that they could do that for a period of time. So we're trying to really capture a lot and try to address a lot, and maybe lessons learned is like uh, if that could be paced at a different, in a different way, dependent on each community and each project, it would have been something that we could have like processed a little bit better, like we're doing now, which we have ton to share. You know, and like I mentioned, different channels and opportunities to do so, from website to social media to their own phones to their own VR headset if they do, through events when they're with the families, when they're by themselves, when they're at a concert, and even conversations one-on-one, and more intimate. And then, through this robust engagement platform, we were trying to provide residents with that voice in the pre-development process, I want to say, not in the development process, or so in the pre-development process, how we provided these inputs of like a VR technology, a pop-up kiosk, and tents, table, 2D materials, and a full outreach team to be able to really engage with people and not for them to feel that it was a pain point or something, there was friction in really speaking to somebody, when they approached us. So that's kind of a little bit of the lower tech side. And then how we handle kind of remote and at their own pace type of feedback, aside from capturing there, we had stations that people can go and really fill out the survey there, or scan a QR code and take it home and do these different things at their own pace. And then, through these different tools or inputs, we're able to, as you can see through this graphic, how the outputs of each one and what the impact would be. For instance, in the VR technology side, how we were able to establish, and people were speaking about the same things that they saw and impacted them. Oh, they saw a DJ table and a little stage on the same experience, and they were speaking about how cool that would be, or how that might not be the right place for it because behind the backdrop was something different. So unified baseline, for resident input was really good for us to understand what they were seeing and experiencing, but also what they were themselves, communicating about. And then we think that, more equitable set of residents engaged, because it calls the attention, of a broad group of people, and not just people that can make it to a town hall meeting, but that, they're there for something that's fun for everyone, or something that they all want to do at their own time, at their own pace, and they can dedicate some time to that. And then that's actually has gained for us like an improved perception, of city government. Like people do expect sometimes to see us at events, even if we do not advertise it. We're just there as a pop-up. So I think that many people have acknowledged that our presence, more constant and with this level of effort, really has, created an impact, even if they're um, like okay with the project or not okay with the project, right? Like it doesn't matter at that point. It's more so about changing the perception, or like the effort that we're doing to really engage intentionally and authentically with the community to really create the project that's best for the community. Uh, and the more lower tech, tents and 2D materials and that type of thing, created this opportunity for get a diverse set of resident feedback, not only uh, from the perception of a new technology. And I might say something here that might be later in the presentation, but some people were in such awe of the technology because they either never experienced it before, or never experienced it before for municipal engagement, or a public project, or a physical transformation that's going to happen in their community. More so like they've used it for gaming, or for watching a movie, or for like doing a video conference, stuff like that. uh, some some people were such in awe that it didn't allow them, in my perception or in my opinion, to really engage about the project itself, because they were in awe of the technology. So they were so, oh my God, this is uh, amazing to see this project, in this way. So, okay, so what do you think about what you're seeing? Are the furniture kind of something that feels right? Is it like, how do you feel about the materiality that you see? There was like, everything looks great. So I think that it overcoming that kind of shock of newness and innovation is one of the challenges that I'm going to put out here. Like I said, this is something we're still learning from, on how to really allow people to overcome that and be able to really get into the meaningful feedback, which many did right away. It depends on the person, but something that we learn along the way. And then, what our impact, with this is that, the design will reflect the diversity of residents' opinions, on wants and needs, because not everybody engages in the same way, and that's a big takeaway. And then on the website and survey tools, multiple and ongoing interactions, because we have a happening, we kind of land and pop up in a community or an event, and that's a moment, right? That's a few hours of engagement. Some people might not make it or whatever, but having these like constant communication, or like, hey, you can go to the website, we share it through social media and whatever, people speak and they get a flyer with a QR code and with some basic information of the project, allows for people to kind of keep interacting with it and send us any comments that they had. Hey, I saw you, it was great to see VR, but I had this question, or blah, blah, blah. And then again, this feedback loop, which is a great things that we were always stressing on, that it's not just like go once, get feedback, thank you, and 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 redesigning the project. It was like, hey, we want to come back to you, and we were recurrent, about that, in going back to the same events year after year, because this was a year's, like a long period of time that we've been using this on showing people how the project has evolved, in recapping what we heard on the last wave of engagement, and then saying, hey, this is how this has evolved. You want to take a look, check it out. And they're like, oh yeah, I see new things. Oh, this wasn't there before. There's a new, view or like experience that I didn't have before, and I can show you a little bit of that as well. And then, making the community, like I mentioned, have ownership of this, of the pre-development and development process. And then, we used in two different ways this, as we were engaging at that moment in time, but which, in the public process. So you can see the left-hand side was a new plaza, what was already designed. Caveat there, it was already designed, but it was not built. So we were able to see on site at events that we had and other events that we had, like what was going to be in there and what other things could benefit from the catalytic effect of a new open space, let's say in the downtown, in relationship to the businesses that were adjacent, on relationship to the streets that were available, right? Right adjacent to this development. But this was more so kind of looking into the future. Once you have this investment and this in place, you can see how it's going to be and feel like, and not just wonder what it is, to the Link project, which actually is allowing us to understand more in depth, how to evolve and transform this project and look more into the future at the same time. So to reach the community, we executed 13 in-person events with the support of community partners. And as you can see, this was just from September of 21 to October 22. So it was just like a 12-month period. So in average, one event and activation, really intense, per month, if you want to call it that. And then we were able to, at the same time, gain, increase our relationship with other partnering organizations in the community, which allowed us to as well have access to more residents. So it was like a really interesting, set of events that allow us to even get more out of this than what we thought or planned for the beginning. And the boundary that you see on the left-hand side is more so how we're able to sprinkle around this boundary, where the project was a centerpiece of the engagement, to capture like a really cross section of the population that was going to be affected or impacted by this project. This outreach produced a deeper set of resident feedback, than we've had in the past pre-NRVR development, engagements. You can see here 1,000+ residents engaged directly by city staff in person, as you can see on some of the screen through the kiosk and our presence there. 400+ surveys received with feedback on design specific items. And then 90% of participants felt more engaged in the development process than before their interaction with this type of of approach. So, I mean, this is something that we don't take lightly and are not trying to inflate or anything like that or rest on it. It's something that we still think that we could do more, but it's something that we were learning along the way on how to do it and tweaking also along the way. So we were able to deploy this in a bilingual manner, and because Rochelle is hugely it's in a big part, 30% of the population is Hispanic, like about 20% is African American. So as you can see there, you already have 50% of the population in Rochelle, and even more so where this project um, was being impacted, which is like that confluence of these two communities on the western side and northern portion of the project. Uh, you know, um, and historically, the African American community has felt, and the youth at the same time, that they haven't been engaged enough on projects that do affect them, and that comes way back from history, not anything that Kevin and I have done specifically like recently, but it's a reflection on how we are trying to overcome this type of approaches. And then how showing the community on how projects that the city has, are able to really impact them in a positive way, and have a conversation about what we're not even addressing, and what some people do not care about the physical actual transformation. They care more about the intangible or the experiential piece of them not having these one asset or like one a passive, and then adding an asset in its place. So this is a little bit more about the same from the last slide, on how we were able to achieve equitable and diverse representation on the residents. And then looking into the future, we will continue to use NRVR on specific projects and our projects that we've either used to engage with the community, or just for staff and elected officials to really understand how to really engage with the community about different projects depending on their nature of that. And the Pratt Landing, huge project that's going to allow for another public amenity that's going to be super impactful for the community, which is in the process of getting their site plan approval, and we're engaging with them to enter this project into the platform, to be able to engage about a critical piece of this project, which is this public access, waterfront that you see here on this part of the project. The project doesn't look like this anymore. It's way better in my opinion. And there's a website for it if anybody's interested. That really, and then what we're doing now is like trying to engage about these public experience that's going to happen, and how this could be a successful project in the programming of these asset, and we've been able to develop also content, for other projects, like some community centers in the downtown, and how to better understand, how this is reflecting the people's choices and needs for programming in these spaces. And something that maybe some of you have seen lately is that we've been unveiling schematic designs for the transit center redesign project, which is a huge project, and it's something that will definitely make it along the way as we finalize the design. Will be out in the community, with this project. And like I was saying, this is we've been funding this effort, throughout the years. This was back in 23, but we keep doing that as part of a team, and an effort that we've done as, kind of human capital, but also in the budget as Department of Development. And this is something that's really, just reflection at the end on how this approach can benefit other cities who wish to engage with residents, which I'm thinking is maybe something that some of you guys might be thinking about or interested in just understanding if this is a good match, for something you've been trying to do, or some of the challenges are similar, and this is an approach that you think it's a good way to explore. We're happy to talk about it. And then um, and like I'm saying, if it's to be able to do that, we have these three things, which is like we can help you understand, the common problem that we've had and the need. If it aligns, this is a good fit, to explore a version of this. The resources, we can talk about budget and how much it actually took us to get here, not only through the grant, but with local money as well, which is in my mind, not a huge um, obstacle at all. It's of course dependent on each municipality and their budgets, but it's not something that actually will take everybody $1 million, to develop, because it actually entailed a process that really drain uh, or like really required of resources to really think about the approach, which is something that at least to a degree we've done for you. Um, and then, what type of capital, resources you will need in terms of like what skills, the team and managing the process itself. And we've received interest from several municipalities, Department of City Planning. I was there before, and it's something that we've spoken to them about. They have their own techniques, but they've been interested in even exploring augmented reality. I know it's something that they have actively been pursuing, but also like understanding how virtual reality, in a city like New York City could be could be could be beneficial. So right now, I'm gonna stop talking there and just cap it there. If Kevin, you want to add your own thoughts like to the sequencing, I don't know what follows.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was excellent. And we have 13 minutes left, which I think is a good, perfect amount of time to go through some Q&A. So there already are a few questions in the chat, which I'll go through those. People, feel free to add additional questions there if you like, or also if you'd like, you can also use the raise hand function and we can call on you and unmute you. So going into the chat, I'll start from the top from Judith. She said, "This is so cool." And this is kind of where you left off is sort of a perfect segue. So what are the associated costs for viewers, for the development of the content and other costs?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna vary, but some of the things that we've seen is gonna be dependent on like the design work that's already been done to like and the stage in which the project is. I can show you, I think I have something here. Not any type of budget thing, but like how we have it set up. In that we setting up a website is something that anybody can get a quote on, or like maybe has engaged already on like setting up a website. And what we've done is like we have this Engage in Rochelle community engagement platform, where we have the NRVR platform on the left-hand side and have other initiatives, including the link and other projects that we keep integrating to this to be able to. So if setting up a website, can vary, and it depends on the purpose, but like resources for that are important. Then about the VR tool itself, it's like it's something that we truly recommend, that it's part of the contractual and understandings of any RFPs or any type of procurement process that you have. It's part of like we have this platform. We'd like to integrate this project in this platform, and then the assets, which are 360 panoramic views, very simple nowadays to actually, whoever does a rendering of anything, can do uh, just by knowing, that that's something that's going to be required. And just so you know, like the platform itself that we use, it's called Kula, which is not expensive at all. You just have to upload these assets that you can contract with. We've gotten quotes from developing these assets anywhere between $1,500, to $6,000, depending on the complexity and reality, and photorealism, of the view, of each one of these views. And it's something that could be worked into the process. But this Kula platform is really cheap, at least the one that we have is something like $900 a year to be able to have this platform that you can actually share and embed in different websites. And you can explore if this solution that works for you. And it basically creates this environment where you allow people to either use their own devices or use our devices that we bring to them, or that they can come and access through us in City Hall, to experience, what the existing conditions of an environment is. And then creating this is like really simple. It's like drag and drop type of things, and linking images similar to what you would do with a presentation, in like allowing people to experience the future of the space, in virtual reality, or like I'm doing here, like a Google Street Map view. So that's why. And then if you can move around as if it was like some kind of real estate, uh, so this is what's involved. The devices, right now, the latest are like $300 each. We have three, which we have to replace for the newest version, but they work as they are, and it allows people to just have that set up where we have them, or they can have lower tech devices. Um, but I don't know if that helps with the question, Judith. Please comment if that helps a little bit. But we can definitely have additional conversations on like how much we spent and do all this.
Great, thank you. So we have a few questions from Wendy. The first one is, you mentioned that Bloomberg expects you to share this technology. How can you share this platform with other municipalities? And I'll just jump in and say, and I think Jorge mentioned earlier, this session this afternoon is in one way that we do that, because there's many representatives from a various number of municipalities on this call. But Jorge, if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, we're very open to walking you through how the way we have it set up. As you can see, there are many things that are really mainstream at this point. It's not like you need specialty, uh, you know, uh, people that work with architectural visualization or anything like that. Some of these images are done with, of course, you have to model all of these things, which is things that have to be done either way for a regular 2D rendering, but with a button, with just a click of the button, it creates this kind of 360 panoramic view that's actually a spheric, that you just have to drop here on this platform, that we can walk you through the way that we have it set up. So, anybody interested in this, we can walk through in more detail how we have it set up, and the different pieces that many are off the shelf, that you can start doing it if you have the connection to creating these assets, as I mentioned, with the specific projects that you have.
Thanks. Next question from Wendy also is, what were the challenges of doing community drop-ins at scale for your department and staff in order to do this at scale?
I mean, it's a lot of preparation, but what we tried to do was to make it as modular as possible. So deploying this pop-up tent, did require us even to acquire a van, because we were not, we were getting tired of like getting it like in the city cars, which were needed a few city cars to do that. So we acquired a van that allowed us to really even customize it to hold the different tents, on different shelves, and have the TV, and have, a place for the VR sets and everything like that. So it was easier for us to, to do that, and not just for this type of engagement, but we'll also use the van, for any other type of engagement that we do. We have a mobile city hall that helps with that. But the challenges were more time and preparation, and really most of these events, happen during weekends. So it's like dedication and really commitment, to be out there engaging with the community when it might conflict with personal time and family time. That's from the staff perspective, that was a big thing. And I know Kevin and I, went through the same thing, but we were committed to do this, and it was a challenge, but it was worth the challenge to do it, just to see, what went on the other end.
Yeah, and I'll just add, oftentimes we have, various consultants with us at these events. So, they're getting paid. But for the additional staff, depending on their situation, there's overtime and things like that, you have to account for. The last one from Wendy is, and I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but how did you develop the actual content that was seen on the VR? Did developers and your planning partners contribute?
Yeah, I mean, I touched a little bit. Like I'm saying, these designs are like, just to caveat, and these are not even the latest that we've developed, but it's something that we're updating as we speak. But it shows you kind of how you can see the transformation, and people can experience by looking around. What's a piece of infrastructure that they all know, and something that takes them to an understanding on what that transformation is going to be, and they can see themselves in it. But separate from that, and to your question, um, we did our planning partners and our architectural, urban designers did partner up, and part of what we started to do and helped us with it was to really integrate it in since the beginning as something that we were requiring for these different contracts to be collaborators and partners on this tool and way of engaging, and it was built into the timeline of like the feedback loop and all of these things. So yeah, we developed them with the partnership of them and their skills and the capacity that they have to create this type of asset is very important to really get right from the beginning, so you don't get into these change orders and things like that and timeline constraints.
Okay, great. And Wendy just added on, if she wants to know if it's possible to have a copy of the presentation.
100%.
Fine. Yeah, so we'll arrange for that. We have just a couple more minutes left, so if anyone else, I don't have any other questions in the Q&A. If anyone else wants to add anything there, if you want to raise your hand, feel free to do that.
Hi, Kevin. This is Greg. I did just want to mention to those that are still in attendance that this will be published on the WMPF website, and you'll be able to view the whole recording as well.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Okay, we'll give just a second to see if anyone else. I don't see anything, so we're just right there at about 1 o'clock. So I want to thank everyone for attending. If you have any follow-ups, please feel free to reach out to us. As I said, you'll have the survey after this. And there's the CM credits up on the APA website, so feel free to grab that for AICP members. So thank you all. Thank you, Jorge, Greg. Thank you for your help. Happy birthday. And have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. And you can reach us at any time.
Thanks.